6 days after the Patriots defeated the Rams in a defensive battle, also referred to as a boring game by today's fan standards, the Alliance of American Football kicked off its inaugural season in what was to be a developmental league for fringe NFL talents to continue their football careers. This 8-team spring football league, consisting of teams in warm weather cities like San Diego, San Antonio, and Memphis, was to bring hard-hitting and high-quality professional football to the homes of millions via streaming through its own app. The league also looked to provide support for its players through bonuses, post-football career planning, and even scholarship support for post-secondary education. It sounded like something truly fantastic to be a part of. The AAF was founded by filmmaker and TV producer Charlie Ebersol, son of Dick Ebersol, an executive at NBC and former business partner of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Some 19 years earlier, Dick and Vince brought us the XFL, in what was to be a direct competitor to the NFL. The XFL came out the gates firing. The opening game between the New York, New Jersey Hitmen and the Las Vegas Outlaws drew an estimated 14 million viewers. The next week, ratings dropped and people realized the product wasn't good. In 2017, Ebersol directed an ESPN 30 for 30 film, this was the XFL, drawing inspiration from the many mistakes his father and Vince McMahon made, like taking on the NFL as opposed to a partnership. The AAF wanted to create a league that was complementary to the NFL, fostering a relationship between NFL players and management. The ultimate goal was to be a developmental league for players, coaches, and officials, along with an experimental testing ground for potential rule changes that the NFL could possibly adopt. Charlie also chose to settle for smaller markets, not opting to place teams in cities that are major markets like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles. Teams in Orlando, Salt Lake, and Birmingham fit the AAF because they weren't competing with other sports and organizations. And the football actually spoke for itself. The XFL was hailed as an alternative to the No Fun League, but it was obvious that the play on the field wasn't even in the same universe. The Alliance found former NFL talents and even brought in the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, to ensure that the play on the field was better than its predecessor. The Alliance had a ton of involvement from former NFL players, coaches, executives, and much, much more. Former head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, Mike Singletary, was head coach of the Memphis Express. Dennis Erickson coached the Salt Lake Stallions, and there was even a Christian Hackenberg sighting. It wasn't actually a sighting. He stuck up the joint big time, so you could smell him coming from a mile away. Other notable names involved with the league were Troy Polamalu, Justin Tuck, and Mike Martz. In week 1, the Alliance came out the gates firing. This hit by Sean Washington on Mike Bercovici sent social media into a frenzy. Hits on quarterback like this haven't been seen in years without flags, fines, and suspensions. If that was a hit on Tom Brady, Sean Washington would have been sent directly to jail. But in the AAF, he put the league on the map in its opening weekend. That weekend, the games between the San Antonio Commanders and the San Diego Fleet and the Orlando Apollos and Atlanta Legends drew 2.9 million viewers, beating the primetime broadcast of the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And with more games broadcasting on Sunday, the league claimed over 6 million people watched the Alliance in its inaugural weekend. It was a big victory for Ebersol and the AAF. But this is where the problems had begun. Reports from The Atlantic stated that prior to the second week of the league's existence, they had problems making payroll. Charlie Ebersol and the league refuted these claims heavily. But on February 19th, Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon pumped 250 million into the league, becoming the new chairman of the AAF. Meanwhile, on the field, the level of play had been steady. Players like Trent Richardson, who will arguably go down as one of the greatest players in Alliance history, were making names for themselves again on television. There are and should be potential players from this league that get looks in the NFL next year. Guys like Charles Johnson, Luis Perez, Garrett Gilbert, and others were big-time players for the league, and they can compete. The Orlando Apollos were night and day the best team in the league, and with Spurrier at the helm and a 7-1 record, they looked to waltz into the championship and face competition from either Arizona or San Antonio. It was shaping up to be a great inaugural season, truly. They even got the services of former Heisman Trophy winner and former Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel. And he didn't really have a great AAF run, but the trash talk was undeniable.
Causing him to step up and move.
You want to start that way? We can go. I'll turn up on your.
This league was exciting at times, and the play felt like a really good NFL preseason game. Oxymoron, I know, but it still worked, being it was a spring league. It even caught the attention of Detroit's own Eminem, And for those of you guys who might be too young to know who Eminem is, it's the guy that Chris D'Elia makes fun of in his car.
4 points, wearing a Ford Taurus, getting an abortion and a divorce at the same time to hear us affording.
Eminem's tweet about allowing players to fight fueled rumors of expansion to the Detroit market. Charlie Ebersol even told the Detroit Free Press that, quote, he had really high-level initial conversations with a couple of different people who reached out after Eminem's tweet, including some people from his team. We are having conversations about whether or not we're going to expand next year, and it's really Tom Dundon's decision. Immediately after this quote from the Free Press, Tom Dundon revealed that the league was on the verge of folding. What? How? Why? There seemed to be a dispute between the NFLPA and the AAF. Dundon was under the pretense that the NFL would allow its younger players who needed development to play in the alliance. Simple enough, right? No, not at all. The NFLPA didn't want to risk their players being uninsured and injured in the AAF, therefore not being able to honor their NFL contracts. Makes sense. The NFL has its own league for developing talent. It's called the NCAA. The NCAA and NFL work in tandem to produce NFL caliber talent year in and year out upon graduation. So what would they need another system to develop talent for? Yes, younger players who need more game action, like quarterbacks, would benefit greatly from a league like the AAF. But the NFL's involvement would cost them money. So why bother? Dundon didn't believe the AAF could succeed without the help of the NFLPA and these young players. He was quoted saying, if the players union is not going to give us young players, we can't be a development league. We are looking at our options, one of which is discontinuing the league. And on April 2nd, 2019, Tom Dundon and the AAF suspended operations. Now, Dundon seemed to be an excited investor, pointing to the alliance and its TV ratings and his willingness to build the league, saying, quote, other than if no one watches, there's not a scenario where I don't have enough money to build the league, end quote. So that's what you need, right? An investor who is dedicated to building the league, to stick around to see long-term success, and a guy with a bankroll. Tom Dundon was the guy who was going to take the AAF to infinity and beyond, or so we thought. Rumors suggest that Tom Dundon had ulterior motives by investing in the alliance. You see, the AAF hired a Tesla engineer to develop technology that would be revolutionary in the world of sports gambling. There are sensors embedded on players' jerseys that update in real time. And on the Alliance's app, you can check where players were on the field, you can check in-game stats, and even predict play outcomes. This information can and probably will be used largely in the world of fantasy football and gambling. Just think about that. Just think about the in-game betting and prospect of the billions and billions of dollars this technology could do in the NFL, in the NHL, or any other league that buys in. The writing was also on the wall when the league decided to move its championship game from Vegas to Texas, claiming Jerry Jones had a close relationship with the league as the primary reason, because Jones was seen at the NFL Combine wearing an AAF hat. Makes sense, right? No? Yeah, I agree. Why would a league who did so much to make their product gambling friendly move their inaugural championship from a stadium with 36,000 seating capacity to a stadium that seats 12,000? A game that could have given them forward momentum next season, competing against Vince McMahon and the reborn XFL. Yes, the San Antonio Commanders led the league in attendance, and Texas really supports its football, but that doesn't seem like a logical move. So as of now, the AAF is no more. As for Charlie and partner Bill Polian, they're dealing with their own issues of reportedly stealing the idea from an LA businessman, Robert Venich. He claims Ebersol and he had a handshake agreement with 50% ownership at stake in the AAF. Ebersol denies any of this ever took place. The league maintained respectable TV ratings throughout its first season. It brought about proposed rule changes at NFL owners' meetings. It gave us a quarterback hit NFL teams would shudder at. The app and its betting technology was innovative, and you'll probably see this somewhere down the line. In its 8 weeks of existence, the AAF provided fans an opportunity to watch a sport that they truly loved in a unique way. The AAF served a purpose for the greater good of the sport. Now, what's lost in all this, and most important, is the players and how the league failed them. As a former player and a casualty of failed promises from leagues and ownership groups, it's disheartening and damaging. An opportunity lost for great talents to work towards making their dreams come true. The bit of football they were hanging on to was unfairly snatched from them, for reasons unbeknownst to most. There's been word of resurrecting the league with new investors next season, but as I know from firsthand experience, there's no chance it happens. They've all returned home on flights paid for out of pocket because of said ownership groups, bodies damaged, hope lost, and feelings of despair. Some will continue their dream, others will move on with their life, but nothing will hurt more than this. Now, we wait for 2020 in the XFL, a resurrection of a defunct league who promised the same thing Charlie Ebersol and Bill Polian did. Vince McMahon wants to make it work and truly believes in spring football. He sold stock to cover 3 years of the XFL financially, so it looks promising. As for Charlie Ebersol, he thought he wouldn't make the same mistakes his father did with the XFL. He claimed he would right the wrongs of the past and do what was necessary to make this league work. And by all accounts, he tried. But in the end, the result was the same.